Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Russia continued to lose their aviation. This morning, Sukhoi 34 fighter bomber of the Russian Air Force was shot down at the eastern part of Ukraine. They constantly use the aviation bombs to target Ukrainian positions and sometimes, well, I would say quite often, their airplanes are being shot down by unknown air defense systems. I believe those are the Patriots. Maybe one, maybe two. So it happened at 10 a.m. But in just 4 hours today, Russia lost one more airplane, the same Sukhoi 34. So how many airplanes did Russia lose this month? I believe around 8 or even more. Already lost the count. This image was shared today by one of the Ukrainian military officials. He stated that this is the photo of the Sukhoi 34 from the monitor. So it is not a stain but the flying object disassembling in the skies. At least it was shared like that by Ukrainian military officials. Mostly Russia is using the FAB-500 aviation bombs on those airplanes. They installed the gliding module on them and dropped them to Ukrainian positions. For example, near to Avdiivka, there are lots of the strikes. This military map source of the Maikov 73 shows it in every update of the military map. You can see lots of the strikes. By the way, Russia propelled today again with heavy losses, but still they're taking the ground near to Avdiivka. It is not a good sign. I wonder if the defense for Ukraine was really prepared. About the downed Russian A-50, we have the satellite image of the place, so here's some of the grass burned in the place. Today Russia tried to advance towards Novomikhailivka but lost many of their tanks and armored vehicles. Well, some of them are lying there from the previous attacks, but Russia sent one more again. And this is what Russia is showing on their media sources, so let's zoom into the place. Does it look like an Abrams? No, it looks like the armored vehicle. MTLB or BMP. The place where it is happening is on the south from Novomikhailivka, so this is the road of death. For the Russian army, not for Ukraine. Ukraine is using some of the drones out there, so this is the Russian tank before the drone attack and this is the Russian tank after. Nothing really left. Alright, it seems like Russia understood that the Kerch Bridge is not permanent over there, so they start to build a railroad from Rostov-on-Don towards Jankoy, Crimea. As they say, it would be better for the tourists. But no, they're building it for the military purposes. Some of the eyewitnesses already filmed that Russia is building this road and the construction is absolutely massive. They'll put hundreds of kilometers or miles of the new railroad, which will improve the Russian logistics. They're also building more defense lines, especially on the south. They're doing everything to protect the new railway, but still it is quite vulnerable. Ukraine may easily reach the new supply line using the long-range missiles. That's why the Kerch Bridge connection is more reliable for the Russian army, but as Ukrainian side says, the Kerch Bridge is doomed this year. Well, we're gonna see. Because Ukraine still hasn't got Taurus cruise missiles and ATACMS missiles with a proper warhead and range. About the Leopard 2 tanks, Ukraine lost 20 of them, but some of them already were delivered for repairs. 7 of the tanks were lost in Robotyne and the rest 13 tanks elsewhere, mostly on the east, I think. It means that the losses during the summer counteroffensive were not so dramatic as, for example, in Avdiivka. Let's go briefly for the Frontlines review today. The main hotspot is near to Avdiivka. Russia continued to move westbound, taking more ground. Today the fight is ongoing for Tannenki. It is in a gray area. When you see such a large gray area, it means that Russia is on the assault pace, taking more ground. Let's check out the timeline yesterday and it is today, so Russia advanced almost everywhere in this frontline direction. Let's check out the 3D military map. So this is Avdiivka and Russia is moving to this side. So as you can see, the only option for Ukraine, if defense lines were not ready, and I think that they were not ready, speaking with Ukrainian soldiers, the only place where Russia could be stopped is this river over here and the lakes. So I believe that Russia will assault and take all of this territory under their control. Let's zoom into the place. I want to check out the terrain in this area. So it's going uphill a little. So those hills definitely might stop Russians from moving forward. They're just little on the higher ground, and also there is the defense, the natural defense line, let's say. But still you see that the river is very narrow at some point. Well, we're gonna find out in the near future whether Russia is successful in the place. So the biggest mistake from Ukrainian side, as what I said, is not being able to build the defense lines as Russia built on the south, for example. This mistake continues already for a very long time. Why the defense wasn't done properly, I'm out of clue. Those should have been built even around Avdiivka. But in general right now, Russia doesn't have the chances to collapse Ukrainian front lines as Ukraine did, for example, in Kharkiv Oblast in 2022. And hopefully Ukraine will obtain the military support from the United States, the main military bill that was already voted in Senate, but the Speaker of the House of the Representatives, even after meeting with President Biden and other congressmen, said that first of all we need to secure the border. But he failed the border bill, and now he says that oh my god, this guy is absolutely pro-Russian. I think CIA should launch the investigation because his campaign was funded by the Russian oligarchs. We already know about it, documents leaked to the press. Biden has one more option. He might announce the emergency state for the national security of the United States and support the bill without any kind of the House of the Representatives. He has quite a lot of power in this case, but he is hesitating to do so because it is the elections year in the United States, so Biden doesn't want to mess up with anything. Biden's administration should have supported Ukraine even before. I mean, with more military support. Remember the land lease that was signed and everyone was speaking about it? Well, not even a single bullet was supplied to Ukraine using the land lease. And now it is expired, so what was the point of taking it? It would help right now, but Biden was sure that Senate and House would always support Ukraine. Well, he was wrong. It appeared that Trump's political ambitions are more important for him and the MAGA group compared to the lives of the people of the democratic state of Ukraine and the close ally of the United States. The last year and the year before, the politicians in the United States all say that they will constantly support Ukraine. Well, we see the different picture now. The good thing that our European allies are taking initiative in supporting Ukraine even more. President of France Emmanuel Macron clearly stated that the security of Europe is now at stake. It depends on the outcome of the Russian-Ukrainian war. It's Europe basically that's at stake. He said that it doesn't matter who wins the elections in the United States, but France and other partners in Europe should be able to continue without them. Not of our defiance, not of our pessimism, not because we're afraid, just because it's up to us. So definitely Europe should secure itself from the major threat. Right now it is Russia, as it mostly always been. President Macron understands that, so for our allies in Europe, obviously it's better to finish this war somewhere in Ukraine rather than to let Russia to fight in Europe. Because if Ukraine fails, Russia will try to attack European countries of the European Union. In that case scenario, France would have to fight directly with the Russian army. And from all of the European Union, only France has nukes. That is why the major responsibility for security, I would say, lies on France. For this reason, Macron yesterday said that they're negotiating with some of the European countries to deploy the troops in Ukraine. You know, we see that the escalation is coming mostly from Russia. They always say that they are going to use nukes in case West will support Ukraine, in case West will do that or this. But since the beginning of this war, the first time I see the escalation coming from the European Union, from France. President Macron really wants to show that France and other allies will not step back, even if the United States would decide to do so. Just today, France announced that they will supply 250,000 strike drones to Ukraine. That's awesome. Also, the Ukrainian side confirms that there are talks ongoing about the fighter jets that Ukraine could potentially obtain from France. We're speaking about Mirage. France, thank you so much for your kind support. So why do we hear those statements from President of France? Because he created the coalition for supporting Ukraine, mostly with artillery shells and missiles. Russians are already scared about the statement from the President Macron. They say that if any kind of the soldier officially enters Ukraine, Russia would have to declare the war against NATO. Nice job, Macron. The source of information is Reuters. And Putin is also getting ready for the war against NATO. At least the military analytics from the Institute for the Study of War said about it. Putin divided Russia into several of the military districts as it was in the Soviet Union. It might help the Russian army to act more effectively against the NATO forces and more individually. The analytics say that Russia still has the plans to occupy Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast fully. Also probably the Kharkiv Oblast, which means that this war is not going to be over soon. Meanwhile, Viktor Orban doesn't believe that Ukraine has the chances to win in this war. At the same time, he's worried that Russia may border his country. So Orban should definitely do everything to support Ukraine, but he is hesitating to do so. Because Ukraine targets lots of the Russian oil refinery facilities, Russia bans the export of the gasoline to the other countries for a known period of time. Definitely Ukraine is choosing the proper targets. The historical bill of 50 billion euros to support Ukraine was voted today in the European Parliament. 536 MPs voted for it against just 40. We see a huge pro-Ukrainian solidarity in the European Parliament, at least right now. At the same time, Russia continued to receive the military support from the North Korea. Who would even say so a couple of years ago? But Russia obtained 6,700 containers from the North Korea. All of those were full of ammunition. After new calculations, experts say that there could be around 3 million artillery shells. Speaking about the military resources, Russia now has the major advantage over Ukraine. That's why Ukraine is unable to regain its territories back. The Russian Air Force reportedly ceased its operations of the A-50 airplanes near to Ukrainian territory. So after losing 2 of the unique airplanes, finally they make up their mind not to use them. It basically means that Russia will be in lack of the information of what is happening in the Ukrainian airspace. In its turn, it will make Ukrainian long-range missile attacks more effective. One of the Russian war criminals who said that he personally stopped Polish mercenaries, 2 of them plus 3 Ukrainian prisoners of war, was cooked today in some of the accident. Definitely he deserves that. I published the video with his confession on my Telegram channel. I created some of the subtitles so you may understand what he was speaking about. I use my Telegram group as the alternate source to communicate with my audience. So if you want to be updated on what is happening in Ukraine, please join me on Telegram. You may find it with a link in the video description just below. This photo is taken by the Russian so-called volunteers somewhere in Ukraine. So Russia occupied this territory, maybe near to Avdiivka, and they took this picture. Russian peace, they say. Well, I would agree, instead of 1,000 words. My friends, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And also, if you want to support my job, you may find some of the links in the video description just below. You may support me on Patreon or just on the sponsorship of this YouTube channel. Guys, thank you so much for your kind support. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.